So I'm sitting out here in this area that we've always referred to in our garden as the back 40. And it's a pretty sizable garden that sits behind our stockade fence. And this, I don't know, even know what you call this structure that I'm sitting under. We put this in when this garden went in, and I want to say it was before the year 2000. So we were novice gardeners, novice everything. We had just built this house, and these are just 4x4s that we stuck in the ground. They used to be covered with lattice on all the sides, but we took that off to clean the look up. And this is a trumpet vine that's growing up over it, which has always been what's been here. But this garden has seen better days. This garden was planted a little over time, over maybe a year or two. It was all lawn back here. We have an acre, and it was an acre of sand covered in hydroseed that became sort of lawn. But so I just picked a stop point, which was here, and we planted the arborvitae hedge and forsythia hedge that is behind me, and then made a garden in the area in front of me that's in between the arborvitae behind me and the fence in front of me. But over the course of those years, between the poor soil conditions, the rabbits eating stuff, just mayhem happening back here, and let's be honest, a heck of a lot of neglect, because I can't see this garden. I have to come out here to garden in it, and I just don't spend a lot of time back here, and it was looking really shabby. So for the past couple of years, I kept saying this garden has to undergo a big renovation. It has to get, planting material has to get changed. The soil has to be refreshed. All sorts of stuff have to happen back here, but it seemed a little overwhelming. So last year, we started tiny little bits. We're on a little incline here, and the walkway that's directly in front of me had actually gotten buried underneath soil that had washed down the hill when rain came. So we unearthed the walkway. We did some pruning over here to take out some weed trees and open this area back up for the azalea that should be growing here. So that was done last year. And then the plan was sometime this year to start working on the refresh of this garden. So I'm going to do a set of videos that talk about what we're doing, what our plan is, and where we're going from where the garden is now to where we want it to be. And this will be probably done in a couple different videos because it's going to take some time in between when we get some of the stuff done. So this is going to be part 1 of the back garden reno, and I hope you follow along and see what gets taken out, what I'm doing to bring the soil back to life, and what we're going to plant and make this garden look beautiful again. All right, so projects beginning. Now I have accountability. So we're back here in no man's land, and a lot of changes are going to happen in here over the next, it'll probably be a year, I would guess. So this garden back here, like abandoned. I don't even know what to call it. It's behind our fence, and some parts of it are beautiful. There's my cart I'm going to be working with. Like where these limelights are and where that 9 bark is, love that. I hate everything that's on the ground in these beds. Love this weigela. I just need to give it some better dirt so it doesn't get so stressed from drought during the season. The highlight of this bed is actually, I'm going to come over in here. I don't know if you can see them in the back, is these hollies. And this is an Ilex versiliata something gold, harvest gold. I can't remember the name of it, something gold. So the berries on this are very bright orangey yellow. And there's 2 shrubs here. And you can see these from the inside of my house. Even though it doesn't look like we have an incline in our yard, that it looks all flat, you can definitely see these because it does incline up on a grade that's almost imperceptible from my house up to this back garden. So these are actually visible from my house. That is too. So I got to fix the top of that because it's crooked. And this weeping cherry tree is also visible from the front of my house. So those three things are fantastic. What's growing in the ground in here is all just uh, awful. So I have tried so many different things back here. Um, we've had, fancy things like roses, and we've had deciduous azaleas. We've tried, I don't even know, I've lost count of how many different things we've tried to grow back here. Um, and I'm throwing the towel in and just going easy. So I'm going to try and have as many shrubs back here as possible and do what I did in the other shrub border, which is get rid of many of the perennials because it's just too hostile of an environment out here, and I don't know why. Um, so there are some redeeming qualities to this garden, or there used to be. And this is a high maintenance, but I have to get in here and weed all the time. Where the Veronica grows down the rocks, it's not blooming now, but you can see lots of weeds in here. So I have to get in there and weed so many things out, but I'm going to take out also any other perennial plants. So the Veronica, like I said, is a shining star for most of the summer. It's done now. I just need to weed in there. But what I'm tackling today is over here. So this garden over here became sort of, I'm going to call it a placeholder garden. So I couldn't figure out what to grow in here. This is full sun. It's really hot back here, and I could never figure out what would be successful. So that hydrangea is doing very well for the first time. I can't remember. It's a vanilla strawberry. And then there's a 9-bark over there that's going to need to be moved anyway because it's right on the edge of where it's getting very shady over there. And there's a boxwood right behind it and some other things that can come forward. I actually did some pruning in there, so there's an azalea in there that can start to leaf back out. It got a little swamped in there from different shrubs, and a burning bush that had seeded itself back there. So I took that out. So all of these daylilies were put in here, I'm going to say, as placeholders. They were put in just to have something fill this space until I figured out what was going on. They're all divisions off some of my other daylilies, and I can't even take it for another minute. So they're all coming out. What's going to stay in here are, this is a new peach tree put in to replace our other peach tree, which might be coming to the end of its lifespan. There's peony in here. Well, look at that weed. There's peony in here that's going to stay. There's a weigela in here that was transplanted, and it's just starting to come back. So that's going to stay. See how tiny he is right in there, in between the daylilies. That's going to stay. And I'm going to pop that 9-bark forward. That's my plan. So first step, take all of these daylilies out of the ground. Okay, so it's day 2 in the middle of this complete renovation of this garden. So a little history, I guess, is that this garden was one of the very first gardens I put in after we moved here. So we moved here in 96. This garden started maybe a year afterward. No, maybe 2 years afterward. So anyway, I had started digging it out, and we had brought in all sorts of rocks. It was really pretty at that time. I'm going to take the camera in my hand and walk around just because it's easier to show you what might have been or what used to be. So every spring, we're all full of hopes and dreams, and I think, oh, somehow this garden is going to get better as the growing season goes on. and somehow it's just going to miraculously improve overnight. And then we get to this point of the fall of the late season when I can't even come back here because it just makes me almost sick to my stomach. The weeds and the complete lack of any sort of cohesive design and just everything about it is just awful. So we're going to go over the details of that, and then I'm going to start. It's a nice cool morning. It's in the 50s right now, but it is going to get warmer, so I've got to get going because I have a lot of work to do. Okay, let me show you some of the details. We have started. There are lots of plants in here. I mean, that's a big, huge weed tree that needs to come out. These Rosa glaucas need to come out because they're just struggling back here. So the big thing that's going to happen today, besides plants coming out, is those big rocks right there. They made a fancy little bed, and I'm trying to recall what was in it when this garden was open, and I can't. But they were raised up and something was planted in there that is now gone. I don't even have any idea what it used to be. Oh, look, there's a catmint. I might rescue that. I had so much of that in my garden, Nepeta, everywhere. But because of the bee situation, I took it all out because it just increased the number of stinging, flying things at my ankles. And so I ripped them all out. But look, a survivor. But everything in this garden, there's Baptisia, there's Rugosa Rose, there's bee balm, there's weeds. And those are just survivors of what used to be in here. And honestly, if I had to really think about it, I can't even remember. So let's talk about what's going to stay. So all the rocks are going to come out. They're going to be repurposed somewhere else. And we're going to level the ground. Any of these spireas that have seeded themselves, I'm going to leave them for now just because they are easy to care for. And some of these actually bloom white, so they were kind of cool. But they're easy to have in the ground back here, so I'm unsure. Those might stay when I do all the plant rep out. I know for sure that this plant is staying. I just need to give it a haircut and give it some new compost so it won't fry so much back here. These ferns are coming out and being repurposed elsewhere. They do not like the sun exposure here late. The ones in the back look okay, but the ones that get the full-on brunt of the sun don't like it. There's geranium that was planted as a ground cover in here, and it no longer exists as any sort of plant. It's just everywhere. So it used to be in nice mounds going up this walkway, and that's gone. But the truth of the matter is this walkway is going to get a revamp as well. So first, all of these rocks are going to get moved back, and we're going to open this walkway up. So what's in front of that little raised rock bed right here is all going to disappear and actually become part of, I guess, our hardscaping, our walkway. There won't be anything planted in front of that raised rock bed right there, because this pathway has narrowed so much. If you can see, it's barely one person walkable. And I really want this hydrangea limelight to be able to fill out. It looks so beautiful from so many areas of the garden when you're looking in here. And there's actually a clematis that grows up it. It's going to stay. So we're going to widen the walkway and take out all this junk over here. The other big thing that's going to happen is we're going to talk about, and maybe, I don't know what the plan is yet with this juniper. So this juniper, again, one of the very first things I ever planted here, it's ginormous now. It is also narrowing this walkway, and I have no room to go anywhere on this side because that's where the fence to our pool is. So I'm going to try and prune this under. So I'm going to try and get underneath and prune up the lower branches, but leave the top branches so it'll just have a different form, and then maybe plant something underneath them. That's going to be what I'm going to try first. Bill really, really wants to take this whole shrub out, and this hides my back garden from my front garden, so I don't want to. So we're going to try that, I think, first to see if we can get the pathway back without sacrificing the whole shrub. I'm not worried about it where it's in this section because the pathway over here is going to be widened. So it's just along that pathway that we have to figure something out. So that's going to happen today. So I'm going to start right now. I'm going to pull out the ferns. I already have a bucket of water over here waiting for them to go in. I'm going to move any of the stuff that's not plants, like the uh, sundial and the arbor and all that stuff, out of my way. And then I'm going to make a staging area for plants that I might want to relocate or keep. And then I'm going to get going on, and I know what's staying are the three big things that are staying are the lilac tree, which I'm hoping is going to eventually grow in my lifetime. It would be nice if before I passed on into the next world, I got to see this thing actually get big and make a bloom. This weeping cherry is going to stay. The weigela is going to stay. Everything else, all bets are off. We don't know. It might stay, it might not stay. We'll see as the day goes on. Okay, time to get working. All right, let's see where we ended up. Been probably, I don't know, a few hours anyway. So this was the bed I started in, taking out all the daylilies, and I moved. They don't look all great right now, but they will. Some little blue stem and some Russian stone crop. Oh my goodness, I missed the daylily. All right, I'm coming back to get that. I freed up that shrub that was, well, that didn't help, but I freed up that, I just weeded out that daylily, but didn't get any roots. I freed up the shrub that was in there. I put another blue stem here, so let's look at it from the other side. So there's that little blue stem. So what's going to happen in here, I'm not done yet, on this side of the pathway along these flat rocks grows a veronica. You can see it's not blooming right now, but it blooms for most of May, most of June, and into July. It's just such an incredible flowering plant. And it lines this side of the pathway. You can see a bunch of it right there too. So I took a few divisions. I took all those daylilies out on this side, and I just started repeating that on this side. So there'll be some of that same veronica on this side. I just have to get some more divisions into the ground there. And there's another little blue stem. So I had, those were just rescued from another garden. So $0 spent over here because everything was just moved. So now I just need to, again, finish putting in some veronica around that stone. And overall, the look is so much better without all those daylilies that were almost always sad, because they certainly did not get enough of water over here. So that side got done. So then my plan on this side was to take out everything that was growing in here and kind of start from scratch and widen the pathway and everything. So I started back in here. I still have a ton of work to do back here. I'm done for the day. I took out there was 2 Rosa Gloccas in here. There was also, if you see those 2 hollies, right where that open space is, and you can see the holly was growing toward the right. So here's the holly in the back, and the holly was growing. Oh, my fingers are so disgusting, but it was growing this way, and there's a hole this way. And that's because there was a weed tree growing in there that for maybe 2 or 3 years I have been just cutting it back and hoping that it, each time I cut it to the ground, I would weaken it, but that wasn't happening. So I actually had to get in there and dig it out, and good Lord. But now it's out, so the holly can start to fill back out the way it was growing, as long as I remember to keep checking that nothing else ends up there. So there's still plants in here that did not get taken out yet. There's still some ground leveling because I took out a whole bunch of rocks from in here. So this whole back area is what is still left to do. This plant material and leveling the ground over here. So that might seem like a lot, but it doesn't when you see what I got done. So over here, we widened, we probably doubled the width of this pathway easily. So we took out all the rocks that were edging this pathway, or I say we, it was me. That bad boy right there, this rock is huge. I moved that all by myself. People kind of laugh at me when I say I lift weights, meaning I go to the gym. And I think people look at me and think, I'm not sure you're being honest. But that rock I put there, all of these rocks I moved by myself, not with Bill, not with a second pair of hands. And this is time too for me moving them because I put them in the garden originally. And it sounds like a pat on the back, but you know what? Don't care. I'm going to take it. uh, so anyway, that little rock serves as a seat. It's actually quite comfortable. And it used to be down the end over here. It used to be right in front of this spirea, which is now the beginning of the bed, but it's leading up into the bed. So we also moved that arbor into that space. And the whiskey barrel was there. I was going to move it, but it is so old. It has been in the ground for so long that I think it would just completely fall apart if I tried to move it. So the only place I may try and come up with a planting plan for is right in between that arbor and the whiskey barrel. I'd like there to be something there. I don't know what just yet. Behind there is another limelight. There's another couple shrubs back there. And then on the opposite side is a pathway that takes you down toward my shed. Everything's a mess now because we have every piece of equipment we own out right now. So there's a little bench down there, and then that's where my shed is if you continue down this pathway. So this Solomon seal has been filling out quite nicely, and I've actually divided some of it for another garden, and I think that could be a contender for what ends up in this space right here. It laughs at dry conditions and shade. It just is so happy wherever you put it, and it's a variegated one. Has some nice white on the edge. Let me get in close. Has some nice white on the edge. It's a really, really pretty plant. So I might take some divisions of that. And oh, I have to take this daylily out. I haven't gotten this far down the path yet. I've only gotten to where I've gotten, which is over here. So anyway, need a solution for right there. I moved the daylilies that line the path on the other side. I was going to compost them, but I decided they're so easy to take in and out that until I have plants in mind or something I feel like growing, I always run out of space in my full sun gardens. And that's what this is. So these could be placeholders. We'll see. But for now, they're going to fill in this edge. Down here, I'm not sure. I'm going to find something to put on the ground under this shrub. That's really pretty because you can see it from the pathway. So we have the bones back. We don't have the garden back, but we have the bones of the garden. So while I was going to be working out here, and I was widening the path on this side too. So I didn't take a before picture, and the hose is there now, but we also re-widened this path. This path was always this wide, and over time this juniper has encroached on it. So I still have to come in and do like fine tuning pruning, but we took out all of the lower limbs of this juniper, and it's quite a bit of material that we now have to deal with. But we took out all the lower limbs, limbed this all up so nothing's in your way when you're coming down this pathway, and the juniper is actually growing up just at eye level and above. So it makes this pathway so much easier to navigate, so much prettier. So now again, do I plant anything under here? I don't know. I'm hoping this is also going to help a little bit with the rabbits situation because we cut off a lot of their pathways and a lot of their little hidey holes over here. I might plant something. I'm not sure. We'll just see how it all sort of plays out over time. This side of the walkway is planted, and so now what I have left to do is to water the ferns I moved. This 9-bark is doing really good for something that was transplanted yesterday, and it's 80 something degrees right now. The blue stem looks gorgeous. So anyway, that's where I got in this project today. So what's left to do? The long-term plan. First of all, we get to garden out here again. So we get to decide what we want to plant because there'll be a lot of space. Secondly, as we're redoing all of our pathways using our stuff that we chip. So I guess you'd call it arborist chips. So that's what we're using to line all our pathways. And the reason we're doing it is because I love the way it feels on your feet when you walk on it. It's like squishy. It's like walking on a, I don't know, like a trampoline, I guess, or a gel mat. It's so cool. So I want all my paths to be that. So this path will be the next that we cover. And then we come to this little spot where the paths sort of divide. And this one is, again, the rocks, like the path directly behind me. And then this path was always covered in these red rocks. But now that we've done so much work out here, they're all covered. And I think that ideally what I'd like to do is also cover that in arborist chips. This is the only place I can't walk barefoot in the garden because these rocks just hurt. So I would love this to be replaced with arborist chips. Oh, I didn't finish over here. That's all right. I'll get over here in a second. I would love this to be replaced with arborist chips. So it would be arborist chips all the way down here and all the way into the corner there. We'll see. It's just going to take time because we need the material and we need to chip it all. But anyway, that's where we're at with the back garden redo after having sort of the same garden for many, many years. We're going to have a fresh look back here. I'm really excited. So I'm sitting here on my sitting rock that I moved from about maybe 10 or 12 feet in front of me in the garden. And I worked out here today. Today was day 3 that I wanted to get some more parts of this garden more toward finished than what they are right now. So the plan yesterday, I finished taking out all the daylilies and getting some other planting done. And I also started clearing back out in this area to my right. And I did get a lot cleared, but some plants that I decided to leave, what I did instead today was refresh their dirt. So for instance, and I'll swing the camera around after, I have some Baptisia Australia that's been back there for a long time, and it should be happy back there. It gets full sun. I think it just needed some soil augmentation, so I got some compost. This Amsonia right here, I decided to leave. A couple of the ferns I decided to leave. A lot of areas needed wheelbarrow loads full of compost because there was either no soil at all or whatever was all used up, or there were actual holes because a lot of these big rocks that are along the edge of this pathway here made a little rock bed in there, and when I took them out there were some big holes. So I moved about 8 loads of compost today, and I have probably about 8 more to go to finish way back in there. And the stuff that's leaving, that's staying, is here. The stuff that's leaving is pretty much gone, except a few things in the way back. I put these daylilies from the other side over here as sort of placeholders and to help keep the soil from washing down the hill, because again, we're on a little incline here. Everything sort of goes that way when we get heavy rains. So these daylilies will hopefully keep the dirt stuck up in here until I figure out what's going to get planted. I finished planting over here with what's going to be here, hopefully permanently. And I need to start looking and getting some inspiration for what's going to go directly behind me. So I don't want to hide the holly, which is directly this way. So I want a low growing, but a really pretty shrub. And I'm just not sure what it is. So we have to go to a nursery or shopping, or I have to just do some research and decide what I want to live there. We're in rabbit land, so it has to be something very specific that won't get constantly attacked. So the planting over here, I did a lot of coral bells. I have to go find their plant tags, and I will. I'm going to put the plant tag, I'm going to label them in the ground. I always like to keep track of which ones overwinter well here. So this year I made a commitment to myself when I was purchasing plants for containers all over the yard that any of the foliage plants, if possible, that I bought for the containers would be perennial plants, because then I could pop them into the garden when I was done and I wasn't just buying a bunch of foliage plants just to throw them away. So that's how all of these coral bells came out of 4 different containers that I had planted up in the early springtime. It's early for dismantling them. I would have left them if I wasn't doing this garden project, but uh, I wanted to get them in the ground, so they're in the ground. I also did some walking around the yard and some transplanting. I did end up putting some of the variegated Solomon seal in here. I put in a native Digitalis lutea foxglove. I transplanted a woodland peony that I had growing somewhere else that wasn't doing well. Over here, I only transplanted the root. There's no top growth to it, but it's right to the side of the arbor there. And so over in here, I have those plants, the heuchera, the foxglove, the peony, the Solomon seal, all underneath me, under my feet, and behind me is a juga, and then this other coral bells over here. And then I need something for behind me, and I also transplanted one of the weigela that I've been using in the pool area over here. So now I can walk you around a little bit closer up, and you can see some of the planting material that's gone in. And really what I have left to do is shop for this, plant something under the weigela over there, and then decide what, if anything, is going into these beds behind me. But I think once all the compost is in and the soil is getting brought back to good, and we put a good layer of leaf mold on it, or at least whatever we chip and shred from the maple over here can just get right put on the ground over here. So I think once we do that, the soil will be much better again. And again, it's been 20 something years since this garden went in. And I think sand acts as like a filter. So you can put a lot of things in here to augment the soil. But what's going to happen is over time, I think the sand filters it all out and the plants use it up really, really quick here because there's not a base layer of soil. So I think once that's all done, then we can decide what's going to get planted here. So I'm going to take the camera and do a close-up, and I'm also going to show you the view from where I'm sitting into the garden that I worked on yesterday, or 2 days ago, where I took all the daylilies out, which is right across the path over there. So I'm sitting on my sitting rock, and I'm looking underneath the weeping cherry that's right in the middle of this bed. And you can see that bed I did, that I took all the daylilies out, and you can see the little blue stem, how pretty it's going to look when it all fills in. It's going to be amazing. And that 9 bark that got transplanted into there. So I think that's all. I mean, the view from here is just so much better. It's just night and day. So I thought I'd come out today and give you a view from the house into this garden that we are working on. Today's day 4. We did chipping and some more compost spreading and a little bit of planting, but I'm going to show you where this garden is in relation to the house and the stuff that we got done today. So let's meander. So that's the back of my house and the slider that comes out from the kitchen and down a pathway and out this little gate, and that brings you to the garden we're about to head into. So if you come out the gate here, and this is, if you were standing right by my kitchen, this is the view into that garden. So from my kitchen window, which is about right here, you can see back into this garden, and there's the limelight I've been standing in front of when I've been videoing, and I'll walk down And again, this garden was one of the first ones that went in when we put this started putting this yard together 20 something years ago. And there used to be a stockade fence on this side, right where the black wrought iron fence is. And obviously that's changed. But this arbor has been here. It was one of the very, very first things that we put up. And this is a replacement arbor. We put a different one up. The last one lost uh, all of its integrity, but it's the same rows. Uh, so if you see underneath here, this is where we did the pruning up of the juniper and widen this pathway. And we've been looking at it from the other direction. So this pathway got bumped out probably a foot, and we limbed up all the juniper underneath. So now it's open. Got to make a decision about whether I'm going to plant anything there or not. But it feels much more open, and now you're not walking into the juniper, and you can comfortably walk down this pathway again. I left my card out here, but this is where the sitting rock used to be, right as you got to the end of this pathway. And then if you look to the left, that's where the garden with the 9 bark I transplanted. And this is the garden that I've been working on the past day and a half. And I got a lot more stuff taken out. I did put some hosta transplants in toward the back, and I'm going to put some more. And we got some chipping done, so that began the pathway. And now we have this little area. The chipping is done. The plants are in on the right hand side. I ordered 2 shrubs for the left hand side to go over in here. There's one of the hostas I transplanted. I transplanted a clematis right in front of it. You can see the cage. So there's just the roots in there. There's no top growth. I cut it off. So clematis, hosta, again, left that Amsonia, composted the plants in there, put in another couple hosta divisions in the back there. So it all looks very much under construction. It is not looking all great now, but I always know things have to get worse before they get better. So these plants have all just gone in the ground. And again, these daylilies aren't staying. Where that one is right there is where the second shrub is going to go that I ordered. So there'll be one right there in between the hosta and that coral bells. And then there'll be a second shrub right there. So those daylilies will be coming out to make room for that shrub. I put in some dark ajuga here. I love when ajuga comes up and over my rocks. So I put some divisions of that right here on this side, and then a new ajuga that I'm just growing for the first time this year. It's called tropical toucan or tropical something, I don't know, but it's very, very bright color. And I think that, let me get in close, so that beautiful chartreusey yellowy green looks really great right underneath this plant. So I'm hoping that's going to all fill in the ground under there. I just need to obviously mulch. We haven't even discussed mulch. We're going to mulch this bed with the leaves from this maple tree right here. So when this maple tree turns and drops all its leaves, we'll just bring the chipper shredder right out here. We'll mulch them, and they'll become the mulch for this bed on this side. So that's where we got today. So now we're going to take a little break until the shrubs arrive, and I'll do a part 2 when we finish, because we're going to get some more chipping done so we get more of this pathway covered, and then we'll have the shrubs in, and we'll get the mulching in. And then I also want to find a plant for right there, and I don't know what it's going to be yet. This garden will now have summer interest. It will have 0 spring interest because all the irises got taken out. All the Siberian iris got taken out. This lilac has never bloomed yet. So it's really going to need something for the spring interest. So maybe I'll find a little dwarf shrub that blooms in spring. And I also ordered some evergreen, like some ground cover cypress for the back, for way back in there, where this area, I haven't even finished leveling it yet, but where the hose is, I ordered 3 little Russian cypress to grow as ground cover right underneath these arborvitae, which are getting pretty big. And this one, actually, we're going to take out the one in the middle and let these 2 others on the left and the right grow together. But that's not a project for today. Okay, so that's where we're at. And we're going to take a couple days off until all the plant material arrives. And then we'll get everything planted back in there and make any other decisions that we need to make, and decide if we're going to plant something underneath the junipers. And we'll be back to finish this in part 2.